Welcome to our deep dive, everybody. Today, we're taking a plunge into the world of modern relationships. You guys have sent over a super interesting mix of sources this time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've got everything from like a YouTube dating coach, he calls himself Alpha M,
Okay.
to relationship red flags from Steve Harvey,
Hmm.
advice on self-improvement from relationship coach Corey Wayne,
Mm-hmm.
and even, get this, conflict resolution tips from Pastor Rick Warren.
It's quite a range.
It is, right. It's quite the collection.
Sounds like you're really trying to cover all the bases here.
Yeah.
From like those first dates to, navigating the long haul.
Absolutely. And maybe even add a little spice to things along the way.
Okay.
So to kick things off, let's dive into the fun stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dating in the digital age.
Okay. Yeah.
So Alpha M, our YouTube dating coach, suggests some, classic dead ideas like bowling and pizza picnics. He even mentions building a campfire for s'mores.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, the activities themselves are pretty low key, but he really emphasizes the man having a plan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like being decisive, taking the lead.
It definitely seems like traditional gender roles are still alive and well, even in the YouTube dating advice sphere.
It seems that way.
But do you think there's maybe a deeper psychological reason why having a plan might be attractive?
Potentially?
Could it be linked to, like, our need for security
It could be.
and, like, feeling like someone can kind of take charge?
That's a great question. And it actually ties into something that Steve Harvey and Bella Gandhi talk about, the allure of the bad boy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they warn us about, mistaking that initial excitement, those butterflies in the stomach, for genuine attraction. Often what we're feeling is actually anxiety.
Right. Like our intuition's kind of telling us something's a bit off.
Exactly. Exactly.
I can definitely see how that could happen. We get so caught up in the whirlwind of something new, and we ignore those red flags that might be waving right in front of us.
Absolutely.
Bella Gandhi, she specifically mentions inconsistency as like a major warning sign. Yeah, like if someone goes from, texting you constantly to suddenly disappearing for days, that's a huge red flag.
Huge. It creates that push-pull dynamic that can, honestly, be addictive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, our brains release dopamine, the feel-good hormone.
Right.
When we finally get that text or attention after, a period of silence,
Mhm.
and so we end up chasing that high.
Even if it's ultimately unhealthy.
Exactly.
It's almost like our brain chemistry is working against us, making us crave that, like, unpredictable behavior even when we know it's not good for us.
Yeah.
And Steve Harvey, he is adamant about the 90-day rule. A man will show you who he is within 90 days.
Okay.
And if he's like love bombing you with grand gestures and promises right away, be wary.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That 90-day rule, because it takes about 3 months for like the initial infatuation phase to wear off, right?
Right.
And for our brain chemistry to return to a more balanced state.
I see.
And that's when we can start to see our partner more clearly,
Mm-hmm.
flaws and all.
It seems like that initial 90-day period is almost like a test, a chance to kind of observe someone's actions over time and see if their words actually match up.
Exactly. And this is where self-awareness becomes so crucial.
Right.
Because while it's important to recognize those red flags in others, it's equally important to recognize our own patterns, right?
Absolutely.
And speaking of patterns, Coach Corey Wayne, he shares a fascinating story about a client who had this major aha moment during a coaching session.
Let's hear it.
So this client realized he was constantly attracting women who needed rescuing
Okay.
because he had unresolved issues from his childhood that he was projecting onto his relationships.
How?
He was unconsciously recreating a familiar dynamic.
So he was drawn to partners who reinforced his belief that he needed to be the rescuer?
Precisely. And until he became aware of that pattern, he just kept repeating the same cycle in his relationship.
That really makes you think, could any of us be, unconsciously recreating familiar dynamics from our past, even if they're not serving us?
Yeah.
That's why self-reflection is so important. Taking the time to, like, understand our own needs or motivations, our patterns, it can help us break free from those unhealthy cycles and create more fulfilling relationships.
Definitely.
It seems like the work really starts with us, with understanding our own baggage before we can even begin to unpack someone else's.
That's a great way to put it. And once we've, done some of that inner work,
Yeah.
we're better equipped to handle the inevitable challenges that, arise in any relationship, like conflict.
Right.
Pastor Rick Warren, he offers a 7-step guide for navigating disagreements,
Mm-hmm.
which I think can be helpful for anyone. whether you're, religious or not.
Okay, let's unpack those 7 steps. Where do we even begin when things get heated?
Well, Pastor Warren, he emphasizes the importance of making the first move.
Okay.
Going to your partner and saying something like, hey, I know we're not on the same page here, but I really want to work this out.
So it's about choosing connection over winning the argument.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the next step is owning our part in the conflict.
Okay.
So instead of blaming our partner,
Right.
we need to acknowledge our own contribution to the situation.
This is where things get tricky for me. Admitting fault is not my strong suit.
I understand. But think about it this way.
Yeah.
Acknowledging our own mistakes, it doesn't diminish us.
Right.
It actually shows strength and maturity. And it can be incredibly disarming for our partner,
Yeah.
making them more receptive to hearing our perspective.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Pastor Warren, he even has a miracle sentence for breaking through those communication barriers.
Oh, does he?
He does, yeah. I'm sorry, I was only thinking of myself. That's pretty powerful stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because at the heart of most conflicts is, a clash of egos, a sense of me versus you.
Right.
But when we can acknowledge our own self-centeredness,
Yeah.
it creates space for understanding and empathy.
It's like we're saying, hey, I'm not perfect and I messed up. Can we, talk about this?
Exactly.
It takes the defensiveness out of the equation.
It does. And that paves the way for the next step,
Okay.
which is listening for the other person's hurt.
Right.
This is where we put aside our own agenda and really try to understand our partner's perspective, even if it's difficult to hear.
So it's not about agreeing with them, but about trying to understand where they're coming from.
Precisely. Because often what's driving our partner's anger or frustration is a deeper unmet need.
Okay.
Maybe they feel unheard, unappreciated.
Or unsupported.
Yeah,
And that's something we might not realize unless we really take the time to listen.
exactly.
Yeah.
Active listening is crucial for conflict resolution.
Right.
It's about, putting aside our own thoughts and judgments
Yeah.
and really tuning into what our partner is saying,
Yeah.
both, verbally and non-verbally.
It's like we're becoming emotional detectives, trying to uncover the root cause of the issue.
I love that analogy. And speaking of communication, Love Unlocked also delves into the importance of effective communication skills. Okay.
They mentioned different communication styles. Silence and storm, and how they can create challenges in relationships.
That sounds intriguing. What exactly do they mean by silence and storm?
Well, they use those terms to describe 2 contrasting ways of dealing with conflict.
Okay.
The silence type tends to withdraw or shut down when they're upset,
Right.
while the storm type might, lash out or become verbally aggressive.
So it's like one person goes quiet and the other erupts like a volcano.
Exactly.
That can definitely lead to some communication breakdowns. So-
Absolutely. Imagine a silence type paired with a storm type,
Uh-oh.
right? The silence person might feel overwhelmed and retreat further,
Yeah.
while the storm person feels ignored and escalates their anger.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It is.
It makes you realize how important it is to understand not just our own communication style, but also our partners, right?
Yes.
How can we bridge that gap when our approaches to conflict are so different? Well, Love Unlocked, they mention nonviolent communication as a tool to explore.
Okay.
It's a communication style that focuses on expressing our needs and feelings honestly and respectfully, without blaming or judging.
So it's like we're taking ownership of our own emotions and expressing them in a way that invites connection rather than creating more distance.
Exactly. And it's also about being willing to listen empathetically to our partner's needs, even if we don't agree with them.
It sounds like a lot of self-awareness and emotional intelligence are needed to make this work.
Absolutely. But the rewards are worth it.
Yeah.
When we can communicate effectively, it strengthens our connection and helps us navigate challenges more smoothly.
Right.
And speaking of understanding each other's needs, let's talk about Dr. Gary Chapman's concept of love languages.
Okay, so everyone's heard of love languages. But how do they actually play out in real life? Like, beyond just knowing the 5 categories, words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch, how can we use this knowledge to improve our relationship?
Yeah. Well, imagine this scenario. You feel most loved when your partner helps out around the house, like doing the dishes or folding the laundry.
Okay.
That's your love language, acts of service. But your partner feels most loved when you give them compliments or express your appreciation verbally.
Yeah.
Their love language is words of affirmation.
So you're both showing love, but you're speaking different languages.
Exactly. And unless you're aware of those differences, you might end up feeling unloved or unappreciated, even if your partner is genuinely trying to show they care.
That's so frustrating. So it's not enough to just know our own love language. We need to know our partners as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's about being willing to make the effort to speak their language, even if it's not our natural inclination.
It's like learning a new language to communicate more effectively with someone we love. It takes effort, but it can completely transform the relationship.
It's about recognizing that love is a verb. It's not just a feeling. It's about taking action and expressing that love in a way that resonates with our partner.
So it's not about them expensive gifts if their love language is quality time. It's about being present, putting down our phones, and giving them our undivided attention.
Exactly. It's about being intentional and making an effort to show love in a way that truly speaks to their heart.
And that can make all the difference in the world. It's amazing how these seemingly simple concepts,
Yeah.
like love languages, they can have such a profound impact on our relationships. It makes you realize how much miscommunication and misunderstanding can happen
Yeah, Phil.
when we're not speaking the same language, so to speak.
Absolutely. And speaking of miscommunication and misunderstandings, infidelity is a topic that really brings those issues to the forefront. After the affair, dives into the uh, incredibly challenging process of rebuilding trust after a betrayal.
Okay,
It's a heavy topic, but I think it's important to discuss.
definitely. Infidelity can be devastating, and it raises so many questions about trust, forgiveness, the future of the relationship. What are some of the key insights from after the affair that stood out to you?
Well, one concept that I found particularly insightful is the idea of high-cost versus low-cost behaviors as trust-building exercises.
That sounds intriguing. What's the difference?
Think of it this way. A low-cost behavior might be something like sharing your location with your partner when you're out with friends.
Okay.
It's a small gesture that demonstrates transparency,
Right.
but it doesn't require a huge sacrifice.
Okay, I get it. So what would be a high-cost behavior?
A high-cost behavior would be something that requires a significant sacrifice, like changing jobs if you worked with the person you had an affair with.
Wow.
It demonstrates a willingness to go, above and beyond, to rebuild trust and repair the damage.
Wow, that's a huge commitment. It really shows that you're serious about making things right.
Exactly. High-cost behaviors can be incredibly powerful because they demonstrate, a level of commitment and sacrifice that words alone can't convey.
It's like putting your money where your mouth is. Actions speak louder than words, especially when it comes to rebuilding trust.
Absolutely. And those actions can make a real difference in the healing process.
Right.
It's about showing your partner through tangible actions that you're truly remorseful and that you're willing to do whatever it takes to earn back their trust.
And it seems like that ties in nicely with the Gottman Institute's approach to maintaining lasting love. They talk about the importance of expressing appreciation, staying curious about your partner, and avoiding negativity.
The Gottman Institute, their research is fascinating. They've identified these key principles that are essential for healthy relationships. And they're not about, grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about those everyday moments of connection and appreciation.
So it's the little things that count.
Absolutely. Like taking the time to listen to your partner after a long day,
Mhm. Yeah.
offering a word of encouragement when they're feeling down, or simply expressing gratitude for their presence in your life.
It's about those small acts of kindness that add up over time and create a strong foundation of love and respect.
Exactly. It's like making regular deposits into an emotional bank account.
Oh, I like that.
Those small positive interactions, they build up a reserve of goodwill
All right.
that can help you weather the inevitable storms that come up in any relationship.
And speaking of storms, it's easy to get caught up in the negativity bias.
Oh.
That tendency to focus on what's wrong rather than what's right.
The Gottman Institute, they actually found that for every negative interaction, you need 5 positive interactions to maintain a healthy balance in the relationship.
Wow, that's a 5-to-1 ratio. It really makes you realize how much those positive moments matter.
It does.
Do you think most couples are even aware of this dynamic?
I'm not sure. But I think it's a powerful reminder to be intentional about creating positive experiences in our relationships. It's about, making an effort
Yeah.
to express appreciation, to show affection, to have fun together,
Yeah.
to celebrate each other's successes.
It's like we need to actively counteract that negativity bias with like a dose of positivity.
Absolutely.
And it seems like having fun together is like a key ingredient for a happy
It
relationship.
is.
Love Unlocked, they even include a whole section on like fun date ideas for every couple.
I love that they emphasize the importance of playfulness and shared experiences.
Mhm.
It's so easy to get, bogged down in the routines of daily life and forget to prioritize fun.
It's like we need to schedule in time for fun, just like we schedule appointments and errands.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything, elaborate or expensive.
Right.
It could be a simple walk in the park,
Yeah.
trying a new restaurant,
Yeah.
or even just staying in and watching a movie together.
It's about creating those shared moments that bring you closer and remind you why you fell in love in the first place.
Absolutely. And speaking of falling in love, let's circle back to Coach Corey Wayne
Okay.
and his emphasis on the importance of self-love.
Right.
He believes that we can only truly love another person fully
Hmm.
when we love and accept ourselves first.
That makes a lot of sense. If we're constantly seeking validation and approval from our partners, it can create an unhealthy dynamic.
Exactly. When we're secure in ourselves, we're, less likely to be needy or clingy.
Right.
We're able to show up in the relationship as our authentic selves without the need for, masks or pretenses.
And that authenticity creates a stronger foundation for connection.
Absolutely. It allows for true intimacy and vulnerability,
Yeah.
which are essential for a deep and meaningful relationship.
And, it's not always easy to love ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
especially if we've experienced, past hurts or trauma.
That's true. Self-love is a journey. It takes time and effort, but it's the most worthwhile investment we can make, not just for our own well-being, but for the health of our relationships as well.
So how can we cultivate more self-love? Where do we even begin?
Well, it starts with self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
with recognizing our own thoughts and feelings and patterns.
Yeah.
We need to be willing to look at ourselves honestly,
Yeah.
to acknowledge our strengths and our weaknesses,
Yeah.
and to accept all parts of ourselves, even the ones we might not like.
It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and compassion that we would offer to, like, a loved one.
Exactly. And it's also about, setting boundaries, saying no when we need to,
Right.
and prioritizing our own needs and well-being.
It's about recognizing that we deserve to be treated with respect, both by ourselves and by others.
Absolutely. And when we value ourselves, we attract partners who value us as well.
Right.
It creates a more balanced and reciprocal dynamic.
And that's what we're all ultimately striving for, right? A love that's based on mutual respect, support, a shared journey of growth and evolution.
That's beautifully said. And it brings us back to the theme of intentionality,
Yeah.
which seems to be woven throughout all of these sources.
It's about being mindful of our choices, our words, our actions, and our intentions.
Choosing to see the good in our partners,
Choosing to make an effort, even when it's hard.
choosing to prioritize love and connection, even amidst, the inevitable challenges that arise in any relationship.
It's a powerful reminder that love isn't just something that happens to us, it's something we actively create
Yeah.
and nurture.
And that creation process is ongoing. It's about staying curious, staying engaged, and staying committed to building a love that lasts.
And speaking of building something that lasts, I think it's interesting how these sources touch on the importance of having like shared values and goals in a relationship.
That's a crucial aspect of compatibility.
Right.
When you and your partner are, aligned on the big things in life,
Yeah.
like your vision for the future, your beliefs about family, your approach to finances,
Mm.
it creates a sense of shared purpose and direction.
It's like you're rowing the boat in the same direction
Mm,
rather than paddling against each other.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And those shared values, they provide a sense of stability and support, especially during challenging times.
It's like having a solid foundation that you can both rely on when,
Yeah,
the storms of life come your way.
exactly. And those shared values, they can also be a source of inspiration and motivation,
Right.
encouraging you to grow and evolve together.
It's like you're both striving to become the best versions of yourselves, both, individually and as a couple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that journey of growth and evolution can be incredibly fulfilling,
Yeah.
especially when you're doing it alongside someone you love and respect.
And, it's not always about agreeing on everything. Healthy couples can have differences of opinion and still maintain a strong connection.
That's true. It's about being able to disagree respectfully, to listen to each other's perspectives,
Right.
and to find compromises that work for both partners.
Right. It's about choosing love over being right, even when it's hard.
And sometimes it's about agreeing to disagree
Yeah.
and focusing on what you do have in common, rather than dwelling on your differences.
And speaking of finding common ground, one of the things that struck me from Pastor Rick Warren's Guide to Conflict Resolution
Okay.
is his emphasis on forgiveness. He talks about forgiveness being a choice, not a feeling.
That's a powerful concept
Yeah.
because often we think we have to feel ready to forgive
Right.
before we can actually do it.
Right. Yeah.
But Pastor Warren, he suggests that forgiveness is an act of will, a decision we make regardless of our emotions.
So it's not about condoning the other person's behavior or saying that what they did was okay.
Not at all. It's about releasing ourselves from the burden of anger and resentment.
It's about choosing to let go of the pain, even if it still hurts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because holding on to anger and resentment,
Yeah.
it ultimately hurts us more than it hurts the other person.
Right.
Keeps us stuck in the past
Yeah.
and prevents us from moving forward.
Yeah. It's like we're drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
That's a powerful image. And forgiveness isn't always easy, but it's essential
Right.
for healing and for creating a more peaceful and loving relationship.
It's about choosing to break free from that cycle of pain and create space for compassion and understanding.
And speaking of compassion and understanding, Dr. Gary Chapman, he emphasizes the importance of empathy in his book on love languages. He encourages couples to, try to see the world through their partner's eyes,
Yeah.
to understand their needs and perspectives, even if they're different from our own.
It's about stepping outside of our own ego and trying to put ourselves in our partner's shoes.
Exactly. And that can be a powerful way to bridge the gap between two people,
Right.
even when they have different ways of experiencing and expressing love.
It's about recognizing that we all have our own, unique ways of seeing the world, and that those differences can actually enrich the relationship
They can.
if we're open to learning from each other.
Absolutely. And speaking of enriching the relationship, Love Unlocked talks about the importance of creating shared experiences and memories.
It's about stepping outside of your routine and doing something, fun and exciting together.
Exactly. Whether it's traveling to a new place, trying a new hobby, or simply having a picnic in the park.
Yeah.
Those shared experiences, they create a bond. That strengthens the relationship.
It's about creating those remember when moments that you can look back on and cherish.
And those moments, they don't have to be extravagant or expensive. It's the quality of the time you spend together that matters, not the quantity.
And speaking of quality time, Bella Gandhi talks about the importance of setting boundaries in relationships, especially when it comes to technology.
She encourages couples to create tech-free zones,
Oh, interesting.
like during meals or before bed,
Okay.
to ensure that they're giving each other their undivided attention.
It's so easy to get distracted by, our phones and social media,
Oh, it is.
and it can really detract from the quality of our interactions with our partners.
Absolutely. It's about being present and engaged with the person in front of you,
Yeah.
rather than being, mentally checked out and scrolling through your phone.
And that presence is a gift, a way of showing your partner that they're the most important thing in that moment.
And that feeling of being seen, heard, and valued is essential for a healthy relationship.
And speaking of feeling valued, Coach Corey Wayne emphasizes the importance of expressing appreciation for our partners, both, verbally and through actions.
He encourages us to make an effort to notice the things our partners do for us, both big and small,
Right.
and to express our gratitude regularly.
It's about letting our partners know that we see their efforts and that we appreciate them.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything, elaborate or over the top. It could be a simple thank you for making dinner, a heartfelt compliment on their appearance,
Yeah.
or a spontaneous gesture of affection.
It's those small acts of appreciation that make our partners feel loved and cherished.
And when we feel appreciated, we're more likely to give back in return,
Right.
creating a positive cycle of love and kindness.
And, it's not just about expressing appreciation for our partners. It's also about appreciating ourselves.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
We need to acknowledge our own strengths,
Yeah.
celebrate our accomplishments,
Right.
and give ourselves credit for the effort we're putting in.
It's about recognizing our own worth and value, even when we make mistakes or fall short of our own expectations.
And that self-compassion is essential for our well-being.
Mm-hmm.
and for the health of our relationships.
Because when we treat ourselves with kindness and respect, we're better able to show up for our partners
Yeah,
in a more loving and supportive way.
absolutely. And speaking of showing up for our partners after the affair, it talks about the importance of accountability
Right.
in the healing process.
It's about taking responsibility for our actions, acknowledging the pain we've caused, and making amends.
Exactly. And that accountability is crucial for rebuilding trust.
Yeah.
It shows our partners that we're truly remorseful and that we're committed to making things right.
And that commitment is not just about words, it's about actions.
It is.
It's about showing up consistently, being reliable, following through on our promises.
Absolutely. It's about proving through our actions that we're trustworthy
Yeah.
and that we're worthy of our partner's love and forgiveness.
And that process of rebuilding trust, it can take time, patience,
It can.
a lot of hard work.
It's not a quick fix, but it's possible to heal and move forward
Right.
from infidelity,
Right.
especially when both partners are committed to the process.
And it seems like open and honest communication is crucial for navigating that healing process.
Absolutely. Both partners need to be willing to share their thoughts, feelings, and needs, openly and honestly, even when it's difficult.
It's about creating a safe and supportive space where both partners feel heard and understood.
And that vulnerability can be, scary,
Right.
but it's also incredibly powerful. It allows for a deeper level of connection and intimacy.
And speaking of connection, let's circle back to the Gottman Institute and their emphasis on the importance of staying curious about our partners.
They encourage couples to approach their relationship with a sense of wonder and curiosity,
Okay.
to continue to learn and grow together, even after, years of being together.
It's about asking questions, listening attentively, being open to new discoveries about each other.
Exactly. It's about keeping that spark of interest alive and preventing the relationship from, becoming stale or predictable.
It's about approaching each other with a beginner's mind, as if you're meeting for the first time,
Yeah.
and being open to the possibility of falling in love all over again.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And that sense of wonder and curiosity can really enhance the relationship and keep it fresh and exciting.
And speaking of keeping things fresh, Love Unlocked suggests incorporating elements of surprise and spontaneity
Oh, nice.
into the relationship.
They encourage couples to break out of their routines
Right.
and try new things together, whether it's, taking a dance class, going on a weekend getaway,
Yeah.
or simply trying a new restaurant.
It's about injecting a dose of, adventure and excitement
Yeah,
into the relationship and creating new shared experiences.
exactly. And those shared experiences, they can help couples to reconnect and to create new memories that will strengthen their bond.
It's about reminding each other why you fell in love in the first place and kind of rediscovering the joy and excitement of being together.
Absolutely. And those moments of joy and connection are essential for a happy and fulfilling relationship.
And those moments don't have to be grand or elaborate. It's often the simple things that matter most.
Like cuddling up on the couch and watching a movie together.
Or taking a walk in the park and holding hands.
Or sharing a cup of coffee and talking about your day.
It's about appreciating the little things and savoring those everyday moments of connection.
And those moments are what make life beautiful and meaningful.
And, it's not always easy to stay connected, especially when, life gets busy and stressful.
That's true. But it's important to make an effort to prioritize the relationship,
Right.
even when things are hectic.
It's about scheduling and quality time together, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
And it's about being present and engaged during that time, putting aside distractions and focusing on each other.
It's about making the relationship a priority and nurturing that connection on a regular basis.
Absolutely. And those efforts will pay off in the long run, creating a stronger, more resilient, and more loving relationship.
And speaking of resilience, one of the things that struck me from after the affair is the concept of post-traumatic growth.
It's the idea that even though infidelity can be a devastating experience, it can also be a catalyst for positive change and personal growth.
So it's like going through the fire and coming out stronger on the other side.
Exactly. It's about using the experience to learn about yourself, your partner, and your relationship, and to make changes that create a stronger and healthier foundation for the future.
It's about turning a painful experience into an opportunity for growth and transformation.
And that transformation can be incredibly powerful, both for individuals and for the relationship as a whole.
It's about rebuilding trust on a deeper level, creating stronger communication, and developing a deeper sense of intimacy and connection.
And it's also about, forgiving ourselves
Right.
and our partners for
Mhm.
past mistakes
Yeah.
and choosing to move forward with love and compassion.
And that forgiveness is a gift, both to ourselves and to our
It
partners.
is.
It allows us to release the burden of the past and create space for healing and growth.
And, it's not just in romantic relationships where forgiveness is important. It's essential in all of our relationships
Oh, yeah, for sure.
with family, friends, even ourselves.
Holding on to grudges or replaying past hurts only keeps us stuck in a cycle of pain and resentment.
Forgiveness is a powerful act of liberation and allows us to move forward with greater peace and freedom.
And it's not always easy to forgive, especially when we've been, deeply hurt.
That's true. But it's important to remember that forgiveness is a process, not an event.
Right.
It takes time,
Yeah.
patience,
Yeah.
and a willingness to let go of the need to be right or to punish the other person.
And it's also about recognizing that we're all human and we all make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Right.
We all have our own flaws and imperfections,
Right.
and we're all doing the best we can with the resources and awareness we have in each moment.
And that compassion extends not only to others, but to ourselves as well.
It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a loved one.
And self-compassion is essential for our well-being and for the health of our relationships.
When we're able to forgive ourselves for our past mistakes, we create space for growth and healing.
And that healing allows us to show up in our relationships with greater authenticity, vulnerability, and love.
And speaking of authenticity, Coach Corey Wayne, he emphasizes the importance of being true to ourselves
Right.
in our relationships.
He encourages us to embrace our individuality, to honor our own needs and desires, and to communicate those openly and honestly with our partners.
It's about showing up as our true selves without, masks or pretenses.
And that authenticity creates a stronger foundation for connection.
Absolutely. It allows for true intimacy and vulnerability,
Yeah.
which are essential for a deep and meaningful relationship.
And, it can be scary to be vulnerable, to let our guard down
It can.
and show our true selves to another person.
That's true. But vulnerability is also where the magic happens.
Mhm.
It's where we create those deep connections that make life truly meaningful.
And speaking of those deep connections, let's circle back to Dr. Gary Chapman's concept of love languages.
Understanding and speaking our partner's love language is such a powerful way to strengthen our connection and make them feel truly loved and appreciated.
And it's not just about, grand gestures or elaborate displays of affection.
It's often the small, everyday acts of kindness that speak volumes,
Right.
a heartfelt compliment,
A helping hand with a chore,
a listening ear.
a warm embrace.
Those are the moments that build intimacy and create a lasting bond.
And, it's not always easy to stay present and attentive in our relationships.
We get distracted by, work, by technology, by the demands of daily life.
But it's important to make an effort to prioritize our partners, to give them our undivided attention, and to truly listen to what they have to say.
And it's about being intentional, about creating those moments of connection, whether it's a shared meal, a walk in the park, or simply cuddling up on the couch together.
It's about making the relationship a priority and nurturing that connection on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those efforts will pay off in the long run, creating a stronger, more resilient, and more loving relationship.
And it's not always about being perfect or having it all figured out.
We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes.
The key is to learn from those mistakes, to communicate openly and honestly, and to keep choosing love, even when it's hard.
And that choice is
Yeah.
what makes all the difference. It's what creates a love that lasts.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today. It's amazing how all these sources, from dating advice to conflict resolution, ultimately point back to self-awareness
Yeah.
and being intentional about building stronger relationships. But I gotta admit, it's a lot to take in.
I agree. It's like we've been given a whole toolkit for building and maintaining healthy relationships, but,
Yeah.
knowing which tool to use
Yeah,
and when can be a bit overwhelming.
right. So let's bring it back to you, the listener.
Okay.
If you could only implement one piece of advice from everything we've discussed, what would it be and why?
That's a great question. I mean, it challenges us to really distill all this information down to its essence.
Right.
And for me, if I had to pick just one thing, it'd be Dr. Chapman's concept of love languages,
Interesting. Why love languages?
because it addresses such a fundamental need in all relationships,
Mm.
feeling loved and appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And so often we express love in the way that we want to receive it,
Right.
not in the way our partner actually needs to receive it.
It's like we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly.
We're putting in the effort, but it's not landing.
It's not landing the way we intended.
Right.
So even if you forget everything else from this deep dive, remember this. Take the time to learn your partner's love language and make a conscious effort to speak it.
It's a simple but profound shift
It is.
that can have a huge impact on your connection.
Huge impact.
Now, I have to admit, the thing that really stuck with me was that miracle sentence from Pastor Rick Warren.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was only thinking about myself. It's just so, it seems so disarming and so powerful.
It really is. It cuts through the defensiveness and blame that so often fuel conflict. And it highlights a crucial element of healthy relationships, right?
Yeah.
Taking responsibility for our own actions and recognizing how our self-centeredness can impact others.
It's like a shortcut to empathy,
It is.
a way to instantly shift the dynamic from me versus you to we're in this together.
Exactly. And that collaborative spirit, that willingness to, own our mistakes and work together to find solutions.
Yeah.
That's essential for navigating the inevitable challenges that arise in any relationship.
So whether it's love languages, conflict resolution, or any of the other insights we've talked about today, I think the key takeaway is that healthy relationships require effort, intentionality, and a willingness to keep learning and growing.
And the beauty is, the more we invest in our relationships, the more we get back in return.
Right.
But love and connection are truly, I think,
Yeah.
the most rewarding experiences in life.
So true. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with a question for you to ponder.
Okay.
We've explored a lot of external advice today, right?
Right.
But what about the internal landscape?
Mm.
How much do our own beliefs about love and relationships, perhaps shaped by our childhood or past experiences, influence our choices and behaviors?
That's a profound question, and I think it's something we could all benefit from exploring further.
Absolutely, because sometimes the biggest obstacles to finding and sustaining love aren't external.
Right.
They're internal.
Yeah.
It's those limiting beliefs, those fears of intimacy, those old wounds that we haven't yet healed. So as you continue on your own relationship journey, I encourage you to, not only seek external guidance, but also to look inward, explore those beliefs and patterns that might be holding you back from experiencing the love you deserve.
It's about becoming your own relationship expert, the one who knows yourself best, and can navigate the complexities of love with, more awareness and intention.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We all have our own unique challenges and triumphs.
Yeah.
So be kind to yourself, stay curious, and never give up on love.
Never give up.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring those fascinating relationship patterns.